Okay, Fatasefa, please lower your hand. Okay, now I want your attention, please. It is, I know it seemed a bit difficult, but it is actually very, very simple. Okay? Um, is a person who is very highly educated. He's got a master's in economic communication. Imagine that. I didn't even know you could have a master's in that. But he's got a master's degree in economic communication. And his name, right? And he has created a very interesting museum, and it is the Museum of Values. Now, to understand why that museum is important, it is important for us to understand what values are. Now, values are, the reason why we do things. Our goals and plans and fears, they all focus on the outcomes. But why we do the things we do, they are based on our values. Now, values can be honesty, integrity, truthfulness, all the good things that we are brought up with. Uh, Values decide how we are going to decide what is going to be our course of action. Now, personal values vary with different people. You see, everyone can have a different personal value, but his journey of finding values started when he bought a train ticket and he decided to travel through Europe with a friend. Now, Jan Stassen realized that friends are like our mirrors and they bring out the best in us. They bring out respect, joy, understanding, and camaraderie. All of these things are there because of friends. He says, if you were to share about a value with a personal memory, what object are you going to think about? So that this is the idea which started his museum of values. In his museum of values, people bring one object, one thing with which they associate a value. Okay. For example, mother gives you something very like your mother gets you a lunchbox. Bring any object which they consider important and they write a story about it. Why is it? What value does this object hold? And where does it? How that object and how that memory has helped shaped their personal compass and their own values whereby they live their lives. So he says those objects can be shells. It can be a cassette recorder. It can be a cassette. It can be a pair of shoes. For one woman, it was a pearl earring that she found, in her father's house, which did not belong to his wife. Now here, the story is about the loss of respect she faced for her father, and she had really put her father on a high pedestal. So that particular that pearl earring was the first thing that they got, and that story was one of the first story that the Museum of Values got. He says that when a person enters the Museum of Values, he has to read 50 stories. 50 stories about people's personal lives and see the object which they have brought, sharing that memory. He says that, people thought initially that nobody is going to be that patient, nobody is going to read 50 stories about other people's lives, but they were wrong. People are very interested in the Museum of Values, and now Museum of Values is working with schools and many other organizations. He says that values are the social glue which hold us all together. The values, the memories are the catalyst which will show your value and you will be able to share it with others. And in this climate of mistrust and fear, it is very important that we have something to bind us together. And the Museum of Values is there to tear down the walls of enmity, and misunderstanding. He says that the Museum of Values has made him think about his own self as well, and how he has, evolved over time, and he has questioned his values. Okay, now I'm going to recap again. Important points. Adam Stassen, he has got a master in economic communication. He started a museum of values because he realized after a trip he took with his friend how important friends are. Friends make us, question our values, change them, and get to understand them better. In his Museum of Values, people bring one object and they write a story about a memory they have about that object. When you enter his museum, you are required to read 50 stories about people and also share your own. This Museum of Values is now working with schools and many other organizations. And he says that values are the glue which binds society together, and they are a catalyst for change and understanding. Okay, now I'm going to give each and every one of you a chance to give your review. Abdul Rahman is going to give the review first. Abdul Rahman Smart.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, so we can name it Janet Preston, and our topic is why values matter. And